everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to be getting ready for the holidays, and the one thing that always starts that off is making Struffoli. Now, that's an Italian cookie. It's what we could also call it is honey balls. My Nana used to call it chichi balls because it looks like little chickpeas. And we coat it in honey and some candy balls on top of it. And it's absolutely delicious. It's something that I make every year. And it's also something my mother made every holiday, and also my Nana. So I'm carrying on the tradition of Struffoli. So let's go on in the kitchen and I'll show you how to get started. Okay, so it's pretty simple, basic ingredients that you need. So you're either going to work on the counter or in a bowl. I'm going to do the bowl today. So what we need, now this is a small batch. If you want a lot more, say to make gifts, you can double it or even triple it. So we're going to put 3 cups of flour. Okay. To that, we're going to add 3 eggs. Okay, we're just going to beat them up. Okay, so we'll put that aside. Now we're going to add our dry ingredients first. So we're going to need baking powder. And we're going to put half a teaspoon. Okay, we're going to put half a teaspoon of salt. I'm going to put half a cup of sugar. Okay, so half a cup of sugar. And that is all the dry ingredients, so we're just going to mix all that up. You can make this dough ahead of time if you'd like. Because after we're done making this, we're going to let it rest in the refrigerator for about a half hour. Okay. So now to that we're going to add our liquid ingredients, which is the 3 eggs. I have 4 teaspoons of butter that I've melted and cooled. So we're going to add that. And the zest of 1 lemon. We're going to do the whole lemon. As soon as you get to the white, you just move over to the next spot. We just want the yellow skin. Okay. So now I'm just going to start mixing with my hand. We'll start in the center. We'll slowly add flour into it. Now the only two other ingredients are for when it's over, when we've done cooking it all, is honey, of course, and then the candy balls. You could find them anywhere in the supermarket. Usually they have green and red ones for the holidays, but I couldn't find them, so I just got the multicolored ones. So now if this gets a little dry, you can add lemon juice from the lemon that we zested, or just a little bit of water. So I'm going to go ahead and add a few teaspoons of water. Just one or two at a time, just to work it in. Okay, so the dough for the honey balls is all ready. Wrap it in some saran wrap, put it in the fridge for about a half an hour, and then we'll come back. Okay, so our dough has rested for a half an hour. I have a cup of extra flour in case I need it. Okay, so now we're just going to cut this up to sections. And we'll just keep that dough covered up. So with that little piece, I'm just going to roll it out. Now they do puff up when you cook them, so we're going to do them a little thin. Okay, so there's our one. We'll put that aside. We'll grab another piece. And we'll do the same thing, and we'll continue until that's all done. you take your time. If you don't need any flour, it's not sticking, don't use any. Now when I roll it, I start in the middle and I roll, and then I slowly move my hands to the end. That stretches it. If a spot gets too thin, don't worry about it. It's okay. This is a video I've been wanting to make for quite a while, and of course I had to wait for the holidays to do it. But since we don't have any family, I wanted to make sure my boys know how to make this. This is something my mother loved to make around the holidays. My Nana too. And I just wanted to make sure my boys will make it, because there's no one else that'll show them. Okay. Now I've made these where I'm rolling and cutting the balls out and I'm frying at the same time. It's way too much. I prefer to roll them all out, cut the balls up, and then start frying. Because sometimes the balls will burn in the oil because you're occupied doing this. So I'd rather just do this step by step. Makes life so much more easier. Now this is only going to make one tray of them. So again, if you want more, which I used to make a lot because I used to like to give them as gifts, you can double or triple, like I said, the recipe. And sometimes in December I do end up making these twice because they go very fast. Now this batch I'm making early because I want to show you how to make it for the holidays. So again, closer to Christmas I'll be making them again because these will disappear in a few days. This is one dessert that I don't see here in Maine. I don't believe there's many Italians in Maine. But it's very easy to make. In Staten Island, they're at every bakery. But I find them to be very crunchy, very hard at the bakeries. So I prefer to make it on your own. And they're so expensive in the bakery. All it is dough. The only thing that costs a lot would be the honey. And now we have our last piece. Okay, so now we're going to cut them. Now this is the size that I like to cut them. You can do them bigger, you can do them smaller. This is how I like to cut them. And I'll just go down and just cut. Now, if you watch other people making these, you'll see that they take this little piece and they roll it. No. Way too time consuming for me. Anyway, when you throw these in the oil, they're going to get round. There's no need to do this with every single one. You're going to have like 1,000 here. There's no need to be doing all that. This is why people get discouraged into making them. And it's that simple. Just loosen them up. Okay, so we're going to move on to the stove. I have a few already cut, so we can get started frying. Alright, so I have my oil on high right now. I will lower it, because as it starts cooking, it'll be too hot. So I put one in to see if the oil is ready. And it started sizzling. So now what I do is I get my scraper, I scrape a few on, and then we're going to slowly put them in. Be careful. Oil, of course, is very hot. Okay. Just move them around. If they stick together, just break them apart. They'll float to the top. I'm lowering it to a 7. I had it at an 8. So when they become golden brown, they will float. Doesn't mean they're done. They'll turn golden brown, and that's when we're going to take them out and put another batch in. You don't want to walk away. You want to watch them closely. Because this is the first batch. After a few batches, they cook very quickly. And then you want a bowl to put them in. Okay, they're just starting to turn light brown. Just move them around. It only takes a couple of minutes. You can see they're already turning brown. Just want them to get a little bit darker. Okay, I'm going to get another scoop of them. Like I said, I use my scraper and I get myself my next batch, because now I'm going to be removing these. Make sure you get all the oil out. And it's so much easier to do these in a big pot like this. Okay, so now we put the next batch in. Break them apart. Okay, now we can see the oil is getting very hot, so now I'm lowering it to a 6. Because I don't want them to burn on the outside and be doughy on the inside. Okay, and all I'm doing is separating the ones that stuck together. And as you can see, they get round. You don't need to do all of that work and roll each little one. Okay, these are browning up very quickly. I'm going to get my next batch. And I'm going to lower it to a 5.5. You can see how quickly they start cooking, and it goes very fast. This is why you really can't leave the pot. You can put more in at one time, but I prefer to not. This is about what I like to put in. Okay, let's break them up. And then you just continue until you're all done. It's very simple. Okay, we'll go get another batch. These are just such a wonderful gift to give if you're going to somebody's house. Okay, let's put our next batch in. And separate. Just try to be very careful. This oil is very, very hot. I already burned myself a few times. When you're putting them in, it tends to splash a little bit, so you have to be very careful. especially if you never made these before. You're going to get a few little burns. And when we were cutting them, if you used a lot of extra flour on your surface, you've got to try to shake that out really well, because it makes the oil foam and it will come up to the top. This is why I prefer using a deep, large pot, because that flour just makes it all foam up. Okay, we're almost done. I have about 2 more batches. So at least you'll get an eye as to see how much this one batch makes, and if you need to double it. So in this big pot I have about 1 inch of oil. You don't really need that much. Okay, and this is our last. If you just roll them around, they'll unstick from each other. I would wait till they're a little bit more cooked if they're totally together, and you could just separate them with your spoon. Okay, so now if you see any stuck together, you can just separate them. Okay. So once I take these out of the pot, we're going to go on to our last step, which is the honey. Alright, so I'm heating up a pot. I have my honey. Now heating up the honey makes it more liquid, which just makes it easier to toss. I've done it both ways. I've heated it up and tossed it into the balls, and it just evenly distributes it very well that way. But I've also just poured honey into it and mixed it up. There was really no difference. But this is how my mother did it. So I put about 1.5 cups. Now some people like a lot of honey, and some people don't. So I have 1.5 cups of honey. I'm going to melt this a little bit, toss it into the balls, and then put the candy on. They do absorb the honey, so you'll find yourself every now and then just squirting some extra honey on. No problem. The honey is the star of the show here. So, and I just want to show you perfectly cooked. Now when you taste this, you're going to just taste the slightest little hint of lemon. And that's from the zest. It's not overpowering whatsoever. If you don't like lemon, that's really not a big deal with this. It's just the tiniest little hint of it. Again, the honey is the star of the show. So you're going to taste a lot of honey when it's mixed in. Okay? So we're just going to get this heated up. They are so good plain just like this. If you don't like all that sugar, you can have them plain. Or you can just sprinkle a little powdered sugar on them just to give them a hint of sweetness, because they're really not that very sweet right now. But again, it's all up to you. Okay, So the honey is warming up. So we'll give that another minute, and then we're gonna mix this all together. Okay, so the honey is all ready. So now I'm just going to pour it right on top. And like I said, it's very watery right now. Let's put this in the sink. So we're just gonna give it a nice toss. Okay, now it's a little hot, so I'm not going to put the candies on just yet. These, because they'll melt. The color will come off of them. So I just want to just let it cool down for a second. Oops. It's all right, the ones that fall out are the ones you can eat. Okay, so now we're going to platter them. Okay, so now let's just put them in a platter. Now, tradition is it would be shaped as a wreath. So there would be a hole in the middle, which is great because then you can take one and dip it in the honey. So now we'll put our little candies. And there we have it. Honey balls. Give this recipe a try. It's absolutely delicious. You certainly can't eat just one. So enjoy the holidays. This will make it a little sweeter. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.